So far, we've learned how to create content for social media posts using Grok to generate the text and to generate the image prompt, and then OpenAI to generate an image. We have looked in the last couple of sessions on how to post it to X and Facebook. Today, we're going to look at how to post it to Instagram. I hate Instagram with a passion. I know hate is a strong word, which is why I'm using it. As both a developer and a user, I'm not a fan of Instagram. I suppose I'm not probably the demographic either, but I just feel like it's so constraining. So I'm not trying to downplay the importance or the popularity of Instagram. It's just not one of my favorites. Okay, so let's jump right in though, and we're going to see what it took to do it, and it was not fun. So once again, using dependency injection, it will get the Instagram service, and then we'll call post on Instagram F12 to jump in, and here we go. All my services are kept in this services folder. Configs are up here in this configs folder. That kind of makes sense, right? So it passes in the social post, which contains the text and the path to the JPEG file. The Instagram config is passed in here. I also pass in a base path, which will be used down here later. I do have a guard clause here to make sure that base path is passed in, and then what we do is create user session data and provide some login details. Now, the reason we do that, instead of how we did it on Facebook, is because at least I couldn't figure out how to upload the image and the text together. Now, let me just back up a little bit and show you. I'm using something called Instagram API Sharp, and it basically uses an API that Meta doesn't really want you to use. They want you to use something similar to what's in the Facebook Pages API, and there's one for Instagram that's similar, but they're so constraining that I fell back to just using this. And what it does is basically mimics you as a user, and that you'd use your username and password. This is not ideal. It's not if you were making a professional app for Instagram, this is not what you want to do. But for our purposes, it worked. So we bring in our username and password, and you'll see if you have multi-factor authentication, we have to handle that as well. So it gets a little complicated. So it's not as good as using something like OpenID Connect and OAuth. So I just create this delay that I pass into this Insta API builder, and the set user passed in that user session we created up here. Telling the logger to use, and then add in that delay, and now that's built. So this is a very important part to get started. There's also a state file. So this makes it where things like, once I have my multi-factor approved and all this, it's gonna allow me to not have to do that again. I'm not sure what else it holds actually, but best I can tell, it at least does that. Okay, so if it exists, then it's going to load in the previous state file, and here it just uses that. If it finds that state file, it's going to say, and you were already authenticated, you're good. If the user is not already authenticated, it has to go through this login process now. And if you have two-factor authentication, in other words, if it did not succeed, you're going to check and see if two-factor is required. If so, then you have to go through this verification code. What I did on this case, you could do it a lot of different ways, and since it's a simple console app, I'm going to allow the user to type in the verification code, and then I'm going to use that, right? So it just says read line, waiting for the user input, and then takes that in. You'll get a notification on your app like normal, and put that in, and then it'll use it here. And that's basically it for the multi-factor, but it did complicate things a little bit. All right, let's go on through, and once you're authenticated, it's going to create this new instant image upload. And this definitely is something nice about this API. It allows you to upload this image at the same time. Okay, so it's going to create this instant image upload, which if you set the dimensions to 0, it says they're unknown. It'll just handle it automatically. The URI is going to want to know where that post image is, and in this case, we're getting that from our hard drive. Next, what we do is we call into the Insta API media processor. There's an upload photo async method. This handles the upload of the image. We just created this Insta image upload, pass in that, and we'll pass in the post text as well. And that's basically what is posting now to Instagram, and it will look and see if the result succeeded or not and log that. I do have a save method here that I broke out, and that's just because I use it a couple times up here. It just makes it a little simpler. And that just makes it where it saves that state file once you are authenticated, so it'll be simpler next time. It'll skip over some of that. All right, so that pretty much is it, though. It's once you are using this one. So I did try to use what Meta wants you to use, but it was so limited when it came to uploading that image that I just finally end up doing this because this is just a temporary experiment anyway. But if this helps you in some way, I hope it does. Hey, if you know an easier way to do it, I'd love to hear that as well. Next time, we're going to look at how to publish this app where we can use it outside of Visual Studio pretty easy, and how to fully automate it on a schedule. That's it for this time. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you next time. Take care.